Christ on all, and welcome to the latest edition of the Fearless in Devotion podcast. Myself, Andrew Pollard, Andy Gil-peen, Tim Edwards, and Liam Randall. How are we all, chaps? But also, I suppose, throw out there the sponsor stuff first. The Fat Ball Group, the various restaurants, bars that I will probably forget all of them, so I'm not trying to list them right now, but I will at the end. But also, as well, to plug the newsletter, Mr. Gil-peen, this is where you step in.
It is. I'm going to share my screen, and nothing is going to go wrong because it never does. But right, okay. Newsletter been going for about 20 weeks. I think people are pleased with it. I think they think it's good value. We've knocked the price down from 40 quid to £15 per annual subscription, but that ends on the 19th. So if you want to get in at that price, please jump in now. I think it's good value both prices, but it's especially good value at 15 quid. There's loads of good little stuff there, loads of bit of fun bits, and people who subscribe say that they really quite like it. So you guys might too. So yeah, there it is. At the moment, we're third in our sort of subscriptions league. We're behind Spurs and we're behind Port Vale. I can take being behind Spurs. Spurs are a big club. We need to beat Port Vale. Come on, guys, mobilise. Let's get above Port Vale. And there you go. There's your code that will get you a whole year for £15. I think that's something like 28 pence per week, or that's my back of the fag packet maths. So it's a lot of words, and there's a lot of good stuff there for that price. So please subscribe if you can. I shall stop sharing and I shall stop plugging it.
Yeah, obviously we got a lot to get into. This is being recorded the day after the Birmingham game on Tuesday here. Just a few bits to get out there first, though. Just I think I speak for all of us. Just well wishes on a speedy recovery to Gary Bennett, Wrexham legend, psycho, who underwent knee surgery today, knee replacement surgery, which is going to be about 3 months to recover from, and sounds very painful from the details I've heard. And also
back for March, he can start playing again in March.
Yeah, that's it. But Ben will be back by then. He'll be fit by the weekend. As he put it in a message, it was a result of all the diving, which for penalties, which I'll take that. He won a fair few for us and scored a fair few for us. So best wishes to Benno, and also congratulations to Andy Morrell, who I'm sure some of you will have seen on social media. Moz, such a great player for us, did a great job as manager coming in after Dean Saunders, where Moz has basically cycled a 980-mile bike ride over 9 days, which equates to over 100 miles a day from Land's End to John O'Groats to raise money for Prader-Willi Syndrome Association UK. I believe, Andy, at the moment, it looks like, as of this recording, has raised over £6,000. So wow. Absolutely brilliant effort there from Andy Morrell.
It is. We gave him a little bit just from the podcast, and it was just a thank you for everything he's done, and it was a bit from the live night we were able to take from the charity auction. So good, really good cause. I'm just trying to see if I can get a picture of him, because I know there was a very triumphant one of him with his bike aloft. Let me see. There we go. I'm just going to share my screen again, and again, nothing can go wrong, can it? So.
Unless you're listening to audio and you're not getting the full benefits.
Then it's wrong. So there is Andy holding his bike. I'd like to throw it in the sea, I would imagine. But yeah, there he is. Good old Andy. He is a real gent, a real sort of friend of the pod, and he did a lot of work for us in 2 spells and a spell as boss as well. What a guy.
Yeah, brilliant effort from Moz. Just very much epitomising his playing days of just graft effort is the least he will give. And on top of that, there was a whole lot of goals for us as well. So congrats to Moz, and best wishes to Gary Bennett on his recovery. Right, we have to start this off now by talking about something we've not spoken about this season necessarily. I mean, that was Sheffield United, but a league defeat. Birmingham 3, Wrexham 1. Now, one of my favourite ever Wrexham games was a 3-1 scoreline at St Andrews. This one was not it. That was back in 1997. Jack Marriott opening the scoring after a couple of minutes, and it all looked so good. And those first 10-15 minutes, and then Birmingham, fair to say, they stepped it up a gear, and it was tough for us to cope. Now, who out of us here did go to the game first? Oh, Mr. Gil-peen, Tim. Liam at home with me watching it on the sofa, which not with me because that'd be weird. I mean, you're welcome around whenever you want, mate.
Together, like Gogglebox.
Nice. Cuddled up watching it.
Sam, let's come to you first. What do you make of that? Is it a kind of a hammer blow, or is it just a case of we were always going to get beat at some point, and Birmingham are an exceptional team?
Yeah, it's not a hammer blow, but I think there was this like dawn of realization there yesterday of how good they actually are. You can kind of see it from afar, and you see the players and the quality they're bringing in, but when you see it play out in front of you, you really do see the levels. You know, there's a big difference, a sort of chasm, really, in terms of how they played the game compared to us. We didn't really cover ourselves in too much glory. Not really sort of we're up to the standards we set, to be honest. But you can't take away from the fact that we were blown away by a far superior football team. It's as simple as that. You can't dress it up anyway. You got to be humble about it. You know, we can't dig our heels and go, oh, we didn't deserve that. You know, anybody with a set of eyes can see that it was a very well deserved victory for them. And yeah, if you're going to have a first defeat, it might as well to be against a side that is probably almost certainly going to win it based on that sort of performance alone. There's not going to be many teams that will go there and take points off them, especially if they keep getting the crowds behind them in the manner they did yesterday. So yeah, it was disappointing, but as was the case, many were saying, it kind of felt like a free hit because of the position we found ourselves in, the fact we stayed top regardless. Not that counts for much of this stage of the season, but it's still nice anyway. So it felt like a free hit. And in a weird way, I kind of, in a sort of slightly perverse way, I kind of enjoyed it. You know, even in defeat, because you just got to like sit there and take your medicine. You know, we've done that to Stockport at our place, to many teams at our place over the years gone by. So sometimes you just got to suck it up and admit that the best team won. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there could be no qualms from us at Wrexham. I think it was just I don't want to say men and boys because that sounds too derogatory to the team who've done a great job so far this season, but you could see there was clearly levels. Jay Stansfield with 2 goals, who signed for, depending on where you get your news from, so between 10 million and 20 million with add-ons, and Awata getting a 3rd goal as well. Andy, for you being there, what is it a harsh question to ask what went wrong, or is it again?
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Andrew Pollard's hospital ball. Right. If I have to be absolutely honest here, and this isn't a popular decision, I think we're in the sort of stage now as saying, does Mullin start? And if Mullin is going to start, does he start for Marriott? Which is very, very harsh considering the guy has scored, what is it, four goals now in 6, something like that. That's a great record, brilliant record. Well taken goal. You know, always likes his deflection. I don't mind that. Well taken goal by Jack Marriott. But you have to ask, is it now the time for Mullin to start? Just because when Mullin came on, he gave the Birmingham centre half so much more to worry about. He nearly took a bite out of someone. We're going to come to that. But you know, he is such a pest. He's such a threat. He pulls people around, and even the threat of him is worth a lot. So I would say if anywhere went wrong, I think up front, the ball didn't stick enough. I think Ollie struggled yesterday. I think he struggled in the same way he did at Bolton, where it's a big, expansive pitch, and it's quite hard for him to get himself around, and it is sort of lack of mobility does show a little bit there. Now, let me caveat that. On the front foot, Ollie is fantastic. He's absolutely brilliant. When at home, he is the focal point of your attack. If you're going to somewhere like, I don't know, a tighter pitch like Peterborough, he can be the focal point of your attack. But I think on something like that, when you get a team that love to move it around and move it quickly, and it's hard for him to keep up. And sometimes I was looking at him last night, and he wasn't really chasing down the angles enough, if you know what I mean, like just try and stop them sort of just passing it around. I felt sorry for him a little bit, to be honest, because he had to put a hell of a lot of work in. So while I would still pick him 9 times out of 10 for home matches, I do sort of think maybe there is a time. Sorry, that's Ollie getting his own back. I think there is a time that maybe we might have to rethink things up front away from home. Now, how about this? How about Jack Marriott and Paul Mullin up front away from home? Do we think that could work?
I mean, 2 very good players. I think it would be harsh to drop Jack Marriott, and I felt like maybe we didn't praise Marriott and Ollie on last week's episode, and then because he's not scored today and we conceded 3, Gilport goes and digs out the striker. Whoa, that's bold.
But you know, you just sort of look when Birmingham were imperious, they were fantastic, and you got to think, right, how are we going to get at these guys? Well, we have to give them something the other way. Maybe they are a little bit more suspect defensively than they are attacking. So if you can actually make them think about that, that could have been the key for us to get something from that game. And I know it's incredibly harsh, and I'm only saying it because you asked, to be honest. But
hey, it was on the agenda. Don't blame me, brother.
But if there was one place I thought maybe we could have done things a little bit differently, I think it is up front. And I think Mullin made a huge difference when he came on. I would say that now is the time to unleash the Mullin.
Liam, as someone who watched it on the TV like myself, where obviously we get a greater view of the wider game, what's going on from the people who are there in attendance, for better or for worse, because just the many cameras that Sky have everywhere. For you, was there anybody you felt was particularly exposed, and anyone that maybe, obviously it wasn't great across the board, but were there any kind of positive performances to take out of that?
Another hospital ball.
Hey, that's all I deal with tonight. I'm dealing with absolutes like a Sith.
Yeah, I can't say that I'd single out anyone who say struggled to cope. I think Andy raises a valid point about Ollie Palmer. I think in a game like that, there was a few balls in the first half where if a fully fit Paul Mullin is chasing on to the end of those, then Birmingham have got a problem basically. But Palmer struggled to get on the end of them with his runs. He's not that sort of player, in fairness to him. But overall, I think that the way Parkinson summed it up after the final whistle was quite right. You know, in games, it's not so much about what happens when you concede goals, how you react to it. And we just, from that moment on, we were just completely flat. We started off really well, good passing rhythm. We were passing the ball around Birmingham really well. And then the rhythm of all that just completely, it was just a complete sea change. I didn't hear much out of the Birmingham fans for the first 20 minutes or so, but as soon as that goal went in, that was it then. It was sort of, they were fully behind their team. Don't know why it took them that long, but it just seemed to have a galvanizing effect on them. And a lot of their fans have said that's the best that they've actually played so far this season. And it was a really good performance, which, yeah, I find it hard to sort of pick anyone out, but I would say that I didn't think the midfield as a unit really worked. I feel like with Rathbone, similar to when Andy Cannon first started with us, I don't quite know what his game's about yet. I've got no doubt he's an absolutely quality player, but at the moment, I'm not seeing where he's fitting in. And I think if Cannon's fit, for me at the moment, he starts just because of how crucial he's become for us over time.
Yeah, I think it was a rare game, or the first time this season where, again, I thought George Dobson got bossed in midfield. It was strange to see because he's been excellent in every game, and again, it just highlights the strength of this Birmingham squad. I thought, for me, obviously Jay Stansfield gets the headlines. I thought Tomoki Iwata in midfield was just absolutely different level, and just that's someone you could see going on to play in maybe top level. Now, obviously, we talked about Paul Mullin. We'll get onto the Crawley game coming up this weekend and maybe what changes we make. But Paul Mullin, just for example, the fact he put himself so much in the spotlight. I got a message from an old uni friend I've not spoke to in probably 15 years today, just saying, "Oh, what's this? You've got the new Luis Suarez." That's how much of an impact this has had from someone who has no interest in Wrexham, is a Spurs fan, to be honest.
Friends reunited.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Paul Mullin and his teeth, or nearly teeth, bringing people together.
Gummy Suarez. He didn't make contact. He's thought about it. It might have even crossed his mind, but he didn't do it at the end of the day.
It was almost like those vegetarians, who they get very tempted by that bacon butty and they get so close and then like, no, I've got to stick to my tofu. I've got to stick to my tofu. That was almost what it was like, but instead of bacon butty, it was someone's calf.
It did look a tasty calf. Fair play.
Obviously well seasoned before the game. Do we think there's been maybe a bit too much made of that, or is it obviously Paul Mullin is somebody who, a little bit like Luis Suarez. I can't stand Luis Suarez. I think it's a complete shithouse. And a lot of people will think that of Paul Mullin, but Paul Mullin, like Luis Suarez, is very much a winner and is used to winning. What's this Tim showing us?
For the benefit of the tape, the Jaws poster has been doctored with Mullin's face on it. So Andrew is currently sort of cowering in
proud of that. I'm quite proud of that thing. I've spent far too much time today protesting Mr. Mullin's innocence, and honest to God, I think it's clever. I know, like, oh yeah, there's people have like gone into all sorts of like Ali McBeal mode and go, oh, the mens rea is quite clearly there. He knew what he was doing. He didn't bite him. So, but people are going on like he's broke Cochrane's leg in 4 places. It's mental. And the beauty of it is that instead of talking about a very, very good Birmingham performance, all people are talking about on social media is the bite that wasn't a bite, and McLean winding up, 30, 40 something blokes in the home end. So clever, whichever way you look at it, whether they meant it or not. It's mental that people are like, oh, surely this is a 6-game ban. Like, it's supposed to be some impartial accounts out there, naming their names. League One look, that are gunning for him. Even like the anti Mullin for Wales crew are all out, and they're using that game as like the example of, well, that clearly shows why he's not going to play for Wales. He's coming back from injury. He's coming back from surgery. They're conveniently ignoring all the goals he scored since, in that gap. So it is beggars belief that people have gone absolutely crazy with this. He's made light of it with the tweet he put out about, I think he said something like the leg looked like it was going to injure his mouth. So I can't remember what the words were. And even Cochrane himself has said like it was handbags. It's just a load of nonsense. So that's from both players. So that's as good as it gets. But people are like searching for retrospective action and saying it's like brutal behaviour. Like, get a grip, you bunch of wet wipes. It's unbelievable. The outcry over it, ridiculous.
I might be like overly psychoanalyzing it, but it's almost like Mullin is literally chomping at the bit to get back into action. From the second he stepped onto that pitch, he just looked like a man possessed. He just wanted to be in the thick of it. He was drawing, fouls left, right, and centre.
The Mullin game. That was a Mullin game last night. Mullin is best when he's on the TV as the underdog away from home. Coventry, think Sheffield United. The first replay, that's Mullin's game, and he was desperate to do well in it. Probably a little bit too desperate, but
but nobody's asking why he wanted to retaliate in the first place. People are conveniently forgetting that guy seemed to rake his foot over his head. Whether he did it accidentally on purpose, whether there was intent, and none of us will ever really know. So, look, it's a bit of a flashpoint that's threatened to take the shine off the result for them. It's probably done us a few favors, but yeah, it isn't a bite, is it? So, dry your eyes.
I don't know about saying it's not done. It's done us some favors because it's not done anything positive for the club or for the performance of the team in that regard. But it is with Mullin. It's like I said, he is a winner. He's used to playing every week. He's used to being the main man, and here he is at the moment, can't get back into the team because the player who's taken his place is scoring goals. So you can see there's obviously a lot of frustration there. And it was a daft thing to do. I mean, it was a questionable tackle, whatever you want to call it in the first place, like you said, Tim, where it's kind of raking over his head almost. But it is what it is. It's been and gone. It's all a bit of nothing. And then also something else, another talking point to come out of that involving one of our players, James McClean. It was a very good catch. I mean, fair play to the lad. Obviously, having played for West Bromwich Albion, the big rival of Birmingham City, Birmingham and Aston Villa, James McClean was always going to get stick. I mean, James McClean was always going to get stick at whichever ground he goes to this season. And even at the racecourse, he'll get stick from the away fans because that's James McClean. What do you make of it this time? And does it maybe take away a little bit from the team and the squad? Or, I mean, it's hard not to retaliate or to wind some people up when you're getting so much stick from so many people before you even kick the ball in some cases.
I like to think that I'm a bit of a wind-up merchant, but when I watch that bloke, when you've practiced something for really, really long, and then someone just comes, plays you against you in tennis or something and completely wipes you away. When I watch him, I'm just like, Jesus, that is levels beyond. Just to be able to walk past, hundreds of grown men, and they're just all of a sudden doing stuff which I can imagine in their day-to-day lives, they're not jumping about, shouting abuse and sort of getting blocked by an invisible wall to try and get on the pitch to a player. I just think, I've got to be honest, I love it. I absolutely love it. There was the roll in the shorts up to show his tattoo to them to wind them up. He always is. It's a very sort of fine line, a bit like when he picks up a yellow card on the pitch. The way he winds up fans, I feel like he's quite careful. He knows what he can and can't get punished for, and he does the sort of, literally winding them up with his hands gesture. But he never takes it to that level where he's going to end up with some punishment afterwards. So it's just quite wonderful to see an artist at work.
Yeah,
An
he always
artist.
puts it on them, doesn't he? He always puts it on the crowd. It's not like he's done something so incendiary that no one would blame the crowd for trying to lamp him. No, he's done just a little bit. And if they want to go and do that, well, two things. One, they'll be in trouble. And two, don't try and fight James McLean, because a lot of those fat lads giving him abuse yesterday, he would eviscerate them in a boxing match. So, just don't test your luck with Jimmy McLean. I quite like it as well. I do. I mean, I would hate it if it was against me, but because it isn't, I think it just adds a little bit to the personality of the club. There is a valid question: should he be captain? Do you want your captain doing that? But really and truly, off the pitch and on the pitch, James McLean is leading by example to a lot of the youngsters we've got coming through in fitness, in determination, in professionalism. So that's why I think he's captain. And these just come along with it. They come along with. He wouldn't be the same person if he didn't have this as part of his sort of makeup, really.
Yeah, and it's nothing malicious. It's not like he's going around smashing players. It's I think Liam made a really good point there, where if he does start to get in trouble with the referee, he's really good at managing his game, his performance to make sure that he's not going to get sent off, whether it's a yellow card or just some warnings. He once he's had those initial warnings, and he knows where he's up to. He knows how to manage that line. And Tim, to come to you for any thoughts on James McLean, but also as well, talking about some of the fans at Birmingham. I believe this didn't come through on the TV, but there were some coins thrown as well at the Wrexham fans and various other items from the Birmingham fans.
Yeah, I mean, I never had anything hit me, but there was a few things after that people were saying that I overheard on the way out, and also on social media, because they had the tier above us. And it reminded me of the San Siro donkeys years ago where Wales played Italy, and there was people chucking apples and razor blades.
Someone else said that.
So you kind of look at that and think, well, where's the safety advisory group's decision making in that side of things? Because it could have been a lot worse. You only have to turn around and give somebody some stick back. Somebody's launched a coin that whacks you in the eye. We've seen what that's happened before, wasn't it? With Torquay at home, at our place. So it's not something that should be condoned anywhere by anyone. So that was a bit sort of unsavoury and disappointing, but maybe that'll be looked at. But yeah, the McLean thing, it's one of those. I would not be surprised if the top brass at the club remind James McClean and Paul Mullin their responsibilities. And I say that with some sort of good grace, because you'll get the perception, and quite rightly, from some people that say, well, Mullin's my kid's hero, he's my idol. I don't want to see my kid seeing him going to take a bite out of somebody. So there is that argument as well. We can laugh and joke about it and say, oh, yeah, blah, blah. But there is that element to consider. And it's the same with Macca. I think if we weren't doing as well as we have been, or let's say we'd been a bad winning run, the last thing we would have needed is for McLean to act up or Mullin to do what he did, because all of a sudden he just had an insult to injury. So that lads concentrate on addressing the form, that sort of stuff. So I think there's a lot of credit in the bank, a lot of good credit in the bank for the majority, if not all, of these players and the manager. So it's just important to get that balance right and make sure it doesn't stray too far the other way, because we know that McLean is the loose cannon, if you want to call him that. But that's he lives, his game is on the edge, isn't it? He always plays it on the edge. And if you strip that away from him, he's probably half the player. So it's getting that balance right, really. And he loves it here. It's the perfect fit for him at this club. Andy kind of undersold part of my argument, which I'm not really too keen on it, if McLean's made any jibes about people's weight. But there we go. You don't know what's being said to him, do you, at the end of the day? Ultimately, fans can dish it out at players like him, but they don't like it when it's dished out back. And that's the same for all of us. I'm sure we've all given some stick to players and they've given it back, and you're like, how dare you? I've paid to watch this, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, but I think long story short, they'll probably, somebody will have a little word in their ear. No doubt Sean Harvey will be like, look, I know it's part of your game, but just just make sure you tread the right side of the line.
Long story short, that was about 20 minutes, Tim.
Sorry,
I'm
well,
joking.
it's been on my mind all day.
No,
Just everybody else's.
To stick with you, Tim, because of the book of Arthur Okonkwo came in for a little bit of not stick necessarily yesterday, but there's people questioning, whether he could have done better with some of the goals, especially the first goal when he palms it out into the middle of the 6-yard box. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he could have. And it's important that I don't want to go down that route of scapegoating players unfairly, and we're not scapegoating him, but ultimately he's been a calm, reassuring presence since he's come to the club, especially signing permanently. But that yesterday was one of his ropier games. That said, I think Owen O'Connell kind of really sold him a little bit for that first goal. That the sort of the challenge was a bit powder puff. Then he gets drawn to the ball when it's not cleared. As soon as he's drawn to the ball, the gap between him and Tom O'Connor is massive, and then Stansfield's just ghosted between them on the follow up. It's presented to him. Yeah, Arthur needs to kind of push it wide, but it's easier said than done, isn't it? None of us are goalkeepers, so yeah, he couldn't do anything with the second one, and the third one. Could he get down quicker? It's a great shot. It's hit with some serious power, and it kind of curls away. But I just feel like maybe he could have got to it. It maybe just grazes his fingertip on it. But like I said, it's a great shot. But he might have been slightly unsighted. But I just think it's one of his more shakier games, which is testament to how well he's done, really. And I think it's, as is always the case with defeats, you just live and learn. You suck it up and go again. And he will keep more clean sheets than he will conceding lots, I'm sure, this season. So I'm not too worried about it.
I think Arthur's performance yesterday reminded me. In fact, the whole sort of game reminded me of Blackburn to a certain degree. You come in, you start well, and then you sort of gift them a goal a little bit, and then the pressure's on. But we will not play teams like Birmingham every week, right? We're not going to. We got Crawley on Saturday. We've got Leyton Orient coming up. They are not the level of Birmingham. I wouldn't surprise. I think they're definitely going to win it. It wouldn't surprise me if they go down as one of the best League One teams ever, because they were so good last night. Every team member just looked so comfortable on the ball. They moved it about so well. Who knows? Injuries might bite. Pitches might get a little bit sort of torn up during the course of the season, and they may make it hard work for themselves. But the amount of money they've spent, the often sort of said thing is, if you've got the biggest budget, it more or less means that you're going to go up, and they've got the biggest budget. They've spent the most money. They've got quality players. I can't see them not walking away with this, to be honest. So I don't think we can sort of really be too harsh with anyone really on that performance. And I think that's not the league that we're in. We're up against the likes of, I don't know, we're up against the likes of Peterborough, Rotherham, maybe Huddersfield at a push. They're the sort of people that we need to be in and around. And I think Birmingham will walk away with it. I really do.
It's good to lose now and again, isn't it? It's as simple as that. You need those little setbacks to remind you of what you've achieved and how you can't always have your own way. And it's a dose of reality that everybody needs from time to time. We've all said it's going to happen. We just need to make sure that it starts and ends there, and it doesn't become like we've not won against Crawley, and we've not won against Leyton Orient. So I don't see that happening, because, like Andy said, that they were miles ahead. But it'd be very interesting to see how Birmingham get on in the next few games, though.
Yeah, I think the irony is that when we finally lose a game, Reece isn't on the pod.
Yeah.
We've been predicting our downfall all season, and he can't make it tonight. But it was one of those games where they were just levels above. Obviously, again, Jay Stansfield gets the big talk. I just thought Iwata in midfield for me, coming in from Celtic, was just absolutely bossed it. And that second goal, I don't think there's much Arthur can do in that, 'cause it's just, when you see it back on the TV, it's just such a really clean hit going away from him. The second goal as well was a really nice crossing, and the headers there. We could do more defensively as a unit, but I think Arthur's not much he can do there. First goal, yeah, Arthur can do better, but anyway, we move on, and I think before we move on from this game, one last thing to talk about is the someone call it the circus that surrounds it, because there was obviously David Beckham was in attendance, Gary Neville, Tom Brady, Rob McElhenney, of course, and a bunch of other. One of the Beckhams was there, Romeo Brooklyn. I have no idea.
Romeo, I believe.
Roll Me, Oh Me. That's a sleeper song, a sleeper reference for the very niche market of mid-90s indie kids that listen to us. But it's stuff like that, because I don't know what it was like in the ground. Andy, Tim, you can chime in on this one. But Liam, watching it at home, it felt like every single time the ball went out of play, it was just zoom in on one of those people. Mainly David Beckham and Tom Brady. Is this the sort of thing where, I mean, is it a bit of a sideshow element to it, or I mean, is it an indication that we're doing well? We have the success, we have this wider stream appeal, and we kind of, this is par for the course with it.
I've got to be honest, I found the Sky coverage a bit cringeworthy at times. There was that much focus. I mean, I'd say the same about whether the focus was on our owners, their owners. It was a bit of both, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Rob McElhenney was interviewed before the match. There was the interviews on the pitch with Tom Brady and, I forget the name of their owner off the top of my head.
Tom Wagner.
Yes, yeah. Which I don't like it when the focus is more on what you call the quote unquote circus than it is the football. It was, I think it's great for our profile that we were on Monday Night Football. You know, when you think of Monday Night Football, you're usually thinking big Premier League games. So let's take that as a positive that there was such a large audience. Again, judging by social media, it's the game everyone was talking about on Monday night on social media. So again, big tick there. But I think it's more the way Sky went about it than anything. I felt like BT Sport, when they covered us, got the balance right. And I know there's probably teams in the National League, fans of their teams, who won't agree with me, but I always thought they towed the line just about right between the sort of focus on the celebrity, but more about the football. There was sort of inane chatter going on in the commentary in between. It was like, oh, there's David Beckham explaining to Tom Brady that you're not allowed to pull people down in football. And I think the joke was made about, well, it felt like 7 or 8 times. It probably wasn't, but it just got a bit tiresome by the end. And to cap things off, they played Stars in Their Eyes by Just Jack on the outro, and that just killed it for me. That was the final straw.
Yeah, to quote Morrissey, that joke isn't funny anymore. But and there was even a bit where Tom, I think it was Tom Brady, yeah, where he's just like, with 5 minutes left, he's just on the phone to somebody. I'm like, mate, you're part of the ownership of this club. You're there on this massive night on Monday night, watching this huge game, one of the biggest games League One has seen in a long time, and you're just on the phone chatting to whoever. I mean, it could have been some sort of family emergency.
It's probably Eli Manning, wasn't it?
Well, possibly, to be honest. What was it, Andy, Tim? I don't know whichever one of you want to chime in on this. What was it like to be there at St Andrews? Did that come across to the fan base that there was all this the hoopla over the? Nope.
No, I mean, you don't get that. I mean, you have other things, avoiding coins, making sure you can get a seat, maybe trying to get some food. Weird pricing on the food, by the way. £3 for a cup of tea. Where do we stand on £3 for a cup of tea? I mean, for me, a cup of tea should never be any more than £1. It is a tea bag, some hot water, and some milk.
London hasn't changed as much as I thought it had. That's good to hear.
Anyway, I digress, and there's more about that in the newsletter. Well, that'll put people off getting it. Idle food chatter with Andy Gil-peen. What I was going to say. No, you don't get that level. I understand that, but I think there's 2 different levels of ownership here, right? Our owners own the club, lock, stock, and barrel. What they do, what their decisions directly influence our club, and they're more personally invested than Tom Brady, who's a minority shareholder brought in by a consortium and someone else to be a marketing tool for someone like Birmingham. It's a completely different level, and I know we're going to talk about Welsh Fire later, but I do wonder how sort of into it Ryan and Rob would be, and if they would be like more the Brady sort of role rather than the Rob and Ryan role at Wrexham, which, you know, ours is a different ownership model to anything else, because it's very much led on the cult of personality. We know that, but there is a very sort of wholesome way that it's conducted, and I'm not saying that, you know, it's a clinical. I am saying it's a cynical marketing ploy to get Tom Brady and, I don't know, Will Ferrell in at Leeds, and this sort of new brand of Hollywood coming over, and
Michael B. Jordan at Bournemouth. Yeah, another one.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah, it's another one. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different from this, but I understand it adds to the razzmatazz. I understand it adds to the interest in North America, and that's great, because surely that's what we want, isn't it? We want these games being shown live and sort of grabbing fans over there and getting them to spend money with us, really.
The only circus I noticed was when I saw the videos on social media after, and kind of the Birmingham situation now reminds us of what it was like for us when it first started, happening for us as a takeover, where you get excited by these stars coming to take an interest in your club. And I can't imagine Tom Brady's been over much to Birmingham. I don't know, but him tipping up, there's loads of people outside waiting to greet him. Then obviously there was word that Beckham was coming, because obviously Rob had let it slip on the Emmys that he was coming. So there was that element of circus to it, where people, if you're a Birmingham fan, chances are you're going to be an England fan. So to see one of England's greatest players tip up at your ground, very last minute is quite the thing. So I can understand that aspect of it. And it's weird seeing some comments from Birmingham fans saying, "Oh, is this a sort of weird commercialisation we're going to have now?" When they saw the Brady and Eli Manning back and forth on social media, and they're not used to it, whereas we are. That you have to embrace it as like an opportunity to spread the gospel about your football club using the platforms and the status they have. And it's what's been happening for us for the last 3 years, and it's just something that they're going to have to become accustomed to get used to expand the revenue streams that are coming their way. So, but in terms of inside the ground, I couldn't even tell you where in the ground they were. I had no idea.
No, I didn't know either.
I had no idea where it was. And Tom Brady got some stick off Wrexham fans on his sort of pre-match walk around the pitch, getting some stick. So that's really about it. It's kind of nice that from the Wrexham circus side of things, that seems to have simmered down a little bit. And
it's not. It's It's not a circus anymore. On that first day, I had no idea Rob and Ryan were there. I had no idea Eva Laura. I can't even say her name, but Eva Lauren.
Eva
Longoria. Come on,
Yeah,
Andy.
that girl.
Eva Lingerie.
Yeah, but I had no idea they were there until about half an hour after the match, and that's how it should be.
You know who Eva Longoria is. It might have been that.
I know who Eva Longoria is. I just can't say a bloody name. That's it. But I don't have to. It's not like I'm fending her off. She's not like outside, and I'm like, Eva, come on.
It's a restraining order. That is. It's a restraining order.
He doesn't need a name when he's got her in his mind. That's the main thing.
But you know what I mean. It's not a huge circus for us anymore, and I'm quite thankful for that, because it was detracting a little bit from the whole sort of experience.
Sorry.
No, crack on, Tim.
I was just saying that our owners have gone about it in a measured way, that they won't overblow it. Like, oh, we're going to bring in 10 of our celebrity friends. It's just like they'll cherry pick, like, well, are you in the country? And come on over. Or, maybe part of the Deadpool thing that we didn't know where, I forgot the name of the girl, the British girl that was in the new Deadpool Wolverine film. Was it Emma?
Emma Corrin.
Yeah, Emma Corrin.
She was there, wasn't she? And I don't think anybody knew at the time that she was in the film. So they're very selective with who they bring in, and they make sure that it doesn't become a major distraction. It maybe becomes an added bonus. It's like, lads, you get to see, go down and see them in the dressing room after the game, as opposed to before it, and it becomes any sort of slight distraction. So I think they've gone about it in the right manner, and Birmingham, as Brady said, that they're learning lessons from what Rob and Ryan have done so far. So there you go. We haven't got the points, but we're giving them a little bit of an insight.
No dispute there on who deserved the 3 points there. In terms of the commercialization side of things with Wrexham and the status thing, I think the weirdest thing for me was when I realised I was sat in my screen one game before the game, and somebody texted me that picture of Will Ferrell sat on the turf, and it was just like, all right, and as in it was the weird point was because it became normal, as in like, of course he's in the turf, of course Will Ferrell's in the turf, because I mean, why wouldn't he be? Which is just, that's to look on that's just bonkers. But moving forward, we've got Crawley at the weekend, Crawley at home. It's I think they're 13th in the league, I believe, at the moment. They've had a so-so start to the season. I think the bigger question is not so much about Crawley, it's so much about ourselves. And Parky's kept when everybody's fit, he's kept a very similar team for most of the season. I mean, the only real change maybe now and again was whether Barney was in or not on the right. But what do we expect for Saturday? Because we're coming off the back of our first defeat of the season in the league, at least. Do we expect wholesale changes? Do we think one or two, or do we give the lads who've done so well a chance to bounce back? And
Tim's gone for free. I was maybe thinking Cannon might come back in.
Yeah.
I know I said unleash the Mullin, but at home I would still play Palmer.
You shit
And
house.
I
Absolute
just
shit
think,
house.
and I just think it's incredibly unlucky for Jack Marriott to be dropped. I don't think that sends the right sort of thing to the team. So I would keep Mullin jumping on the bit at home. I think away from home, the next game, you've got a bit of a decision to make on that, and I think that's the sort of main decision you'd have there. But yeah, I think Cannon would come in. I wonder if Revan, however we say his name.
Ravan. We're sticking with Ravan. That's it. There's no more of this. Whatever you say it. Ravan. I've been told off by that.
I just thought he was impressive again when he came on. So
yeah.
I thought Mendy struggled a little bit, and I just wanted him to take on his man and to really sort of test him. I don't know if he's not really 100% with his hamstring yet, or if his fitness is still an issue. But Ravan was decent straight away, and I think it's either or for me on that. Barney's so good on the front foot, isn't he? But Ravan offers something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Liam, who are your three, Tim?
I would definitely have Cannon in. Probably, I think Rathbone's still kind of feeling his way in to the system and whatnot. I just think probably Cannon offers just a little bit more, so I'd have him back in, and I think he probably will go back in. I think you're right. I think you have that M&M double up front now, the Mullin and Marriott thing, because Marriott's got 4 goals, and 3 of them have been deflected goals. But if you don't shoot, you don't score. So in that respect, he's kind of like a lucky omen. You can't argue with it. A worldie and 3 deflected strikes. Happy
the
days.
M&M double up makes me think of those the 2 rascals you see before you watch a film at the Odeon, who have some kind of hijinks they're getting up to. The 2 actual M&Ms.
There you go. We'll superimpose their faces onto the blue M&M and the yellow M&M. And the third one would be Scar for O'Connell.
Right. Bold.
Yeah, and not really.
Oh, he's had one bad game, Tim.
He's not necessarily had a bad game either. I just, if we're bringing in players that are supposed to be on a par with them, then you've got to give them a try. You've got to give them a try. And I just think Scar, in my head, might be slightly more mobile. Not that O'Connell isn't, and he's been really, really good. I just think, out of the ball carrying centre backs we've got, I think O'Connor's quite calm with it. Max is very calm with it. I'm not sure Owen is. It's not to say Scar's going to be any better, but I think if anything was going to be changed in that back three, it would be that. But it's highly unlikely it's going to happen. The justification for it is very thin. I agree that my argument holds very, very little water, but I'm just going as a hunch.
And I have the trust in Owen O'Connell that maybe there's the odd moment here or there, but I think that since he moved to that central of the 3 towards the back end of last season, I think that really helped push on Max Cleworth. I think Tom O'Connor stepped up. I think just that as a 3, those 3 with O'Connell as centre, it's a tough one to change for me. I know we didn't have the best game. None of them did, to be honest, on Monday night. But Liam, when you look at it, are there any major changes? Just maybe the same sort of changes that the lads have mentioned there, or is there any left field you've got there that's coming in?
I mean, I was thinking about it more from like what will Parky do perspective, and in my mind, I can't see him making mega changes. He's a sort of guy, don't let the highs get you too high, don't let the lows get you too low. So I don't think I'd be surprised if he made wholesale changes off the back of playing a very good Birmingham side who, let's be honest, shouldn't even be in this league. I can see him potentially making 1 or 2 for some reason. I've got a feeling he might make a change at wing back, like Andy said. Will he give? Oh, here we go. This is where I get myself. Revan. What are we saying on that? What's the official? What's the official verdict on that? Revan. Yeah, I can see him giving. I can see him giving Revan a go, because just every time he comes on, he's just, I don't know, he's that extra bit of pace he's got, but also the control on the ball. And the other one I think potentially is Cannon in for Rathbone. But other than that, I'd be surprised if he made too many changes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Like I said, it's Crawley, who I think they're 13th in the league at the moment, who've had a so-so start to the season. And I mean, hopefully we can bounce back and get a decent result of the Kairas of the weekend. But moving away from ourselves particularly and over to Ron McLean and Ryan Reynolds looking to potentially buy a stake in a cricket club from the 100 Welsh Fire based in Cardiff. I mean, this isn't obviously they've got various interests. Their fingers are in many, many pies. And I'm a man who likes good pie, and my fingers are in a lot, but they're in even more than me. So, what do we make of this development?
Yeah, I was on BBC Wales talking about this earlier. Again, I think it comes to the levels of ownership. I don't think Ryan and Rob are going to go and buy Welsh Fire, but are they going to have or be given a part of it due to their marketing acumen? And if you see what happened in F1, where they got what's the Gasly team? Gasly and Ocon. I can't remember. No, I can't remember what the team is. But they were given like a part of that, weren't they? And that's to sort of to help market that team. And I think it is all about marketing. Now, my only sort of thing is, it's easy to take a team like Wrexham to North America and have like it's got such an identity with the club. I mean, what is Welsh Fire to Wales or to Cardiff? Does it have that sort of bond? I don't really know. And also, how hard is it to market cricket across in North America? I know of some of the World Cup was played there, and it is a growing sport. But it seems to me that it seems a bit of a stretch, really, to try and get these guys in. I'm just reading a report on it now, and the chief executive of Welsh Fire, Dan Sherry, has confirmed to Sky that contact has been made with the duo. So it's not like I don't think they're coming to Welsh Fire. I think it's more that they've approached Ryan and Rob and said, "Look, you've done a lot for Wales. Can you help a little bit?" And if they can, I'm sure they will.
I almost feel like has the trail gone slightly cold, because it was reported a while back that there was this potential interest from Rob and Ryan in Welsh Fire. It feels like a speculative query's been made, and then the fact that they're now saying, "Oh yeah, we'd be open to that." I almost wonder, is this their attempt to try and reel them back in? I've watched the 100 for what it's worth. I'm not huge into my cricket. I found it relatively entertaining with the flashing bails and all that kind of thing. But
Gareth Bale flashing. What's this about, Liam?
Well, that just adds to the occasion, doesn't it?
His whole family, the whole Bales are flashing.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to pretend to be interested in cricket for any period of time, but it's one of those, and I think if they feel like they can add something to a sports club, particularly a Welsh sports club, then they might consider it. But yeah, I was just wondering about the origin of this story, the latest one.
Yeah, obviously loads of thoughts from the massive cricket enthusiasts amongst us here at Phyllis and Devotion, where it's like, yeah, it's cricket. I've got a few mates that love the cricket. It's never tickle my pickle, never float my boat. But let's move on to a final topic to cover.
That's the name of the team. It's Alpine. And I think either Ryan or Rob were there in the
Alpine.
Yeah.
No,
Show us your Alpine.
No, it's definitely Alpine.
Is that like a Scouser man's cock?
Your
Alpine.
Every year, Andy goes to Val d'Isère to go alpine skiing. Where have you got that from?
How you say it? It is. It's definitely. It's not Alpine.
There's no accents. There's no accent.
Not working.
It's not Alpine.
Usually, is it? All right.
That's Alpine. That's Alpine. Alpine.
It's not like
anyway. That's
stuff.
the team. That's the team, and it is Alpine. And I don't make the rules.
If you do know the correct pronunciation, please can you send your answers to? Well, you know the rest.
Oh,
yeah. Preferably with like a voice note or voice recording, so we can actually hear it, because it doesn't really translate in like written typed word. Yeah.
From this day forward, you'll be known as Alpine Gil-peen.
Jesus, that man's on a register. Right, let's move on.
Andy Gil-peen.
That's even Andy Gil-peen. The Swiss version.
I'm thinking Andy the Gil-peen. There we go. That's a whole different side mission.
All right, can we stop this anyway?
Yeah, we've got one last topic to cover. Let's get going. And it is I don't know how I transitioned to this from that, to be honest. But Wrexham ladies kicked off their season at the weekend on Sunday. Unfortunately, it was a loss 2-0 to Cardiff, but Cardiff obviously a very, very good team that just smashed everything last season. First half, I thought Wrexham ladies very well acquitted themselves. I was with Gemma Owen on the Friday night, and she was saying they were a bit concerned because there were a few girls missing from Wrexham, key players maybe, that it wasn't going to be an easy game, let alone against Cardiff anyway. But yeah, Fionn Price for a free kick. That was a very tidy free kick. Second goal from a laser collie, which was really, I don't know, wasn't the best defending. I think there's a lot to work on there. But what do we make of that? Is it, again, it's against the best team in the league. It's first game of the season. It's 2-0. You miss some of your good players. I thought it was an okay start for the girls.
Yeah, I think at half time you're thinking, oh well, they might have a chance to break this hoodoo that Cardiff have had over them since they've come into that league. But Cardiff have been at this level for a lot longer now, and it's similar to your sort of top flight teams and Man Cities of the world and stuff, that you just know how to grind out wins. You know to pick your moments, and when they come, that they take the chances. So with key players missing, but to run them as close as they did shows you the kind of strides that they're continuing to make, really. So it's not the end of the world. They've got a big game coming up at the Kairas, which will be good. So I hope that's well attended. I think it's been priced quite well again, from what I can remember. So yeah, if you haven't got tickets for that game yet, please do. Is it a week on Sunday? I can't remember if off the top of my head.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, check on that. I'm caught in the hop. Apologies to the ladies, but we will double check it. But yeah, just again, I think it was a decent turnout as well. It's a reasonably good crowd.
Yeah, I think it's about 600.
Yeah, it's not bad,
thereabouts.
Not bad at all. Yeah,
yeah,
decent. So when obviously Doc Crew were there as well, sort of charting the progress. And yeah, look, 2-0 against Cardiff is not too shabby, and it's a lot better than the pummelings they've had in the past. So yeah, baby steps.
Yeah. It was, like I said, it was an alright start. It was first half very decent. Second half, it was just a bit like ourselves, where we had Wrexham is in, like the men's team had that first kind of 15 minutes where we looked decent, and then the class came through. And I think that was maybe again with the ladies team, it was that first half hour was really solid. First half. Second half, you just see Cardiff. There was a slightly different level there, and they took them. Well, they made the most of the chances to put a lot of pressure on, and yeah. But we go again with that. Right, I kind of think that's about it. A quick shout out to our sponsor, the Fat Ball Group. You got the Fat Ball in Mold and Wrexham. You got the Chris Howell. You got the Buck. You've got Effie's. You've got Hill Street. You've got the Carnivore. And probably something else I've completely forgotten because Rich Watkin is a maniac. Also, Andy, another shout out for the newsletter before we go.
Yeah,
Newsletter, go sign up.
Yeah, I was just going to share the screen again, please. So you got to the 19th. And then
2 days.
Yeah, and then that offer closes again, and it goes back up to 40, which I still think is good value, but it's less good value than 15. That's simple.
Now featuring guest columnist Andy Gil-peen.
Yes.
I'm not sure what he's writing about
talking about how much of a price of tea is and how it really annoys him. So everyone needs to get on that.
Right, we do have one very last thing to talk about. It's just a quick one. Predictions for Crawley at the weekend. Start with you, Andy, because you're the top left screen, so I'll always go left-sided. Always lean to the left.
Okay. Look, they've started well, but I think their manager's really good, but I think their whole squad was gutted. They're building again, and I think as the season grinds on, they're going to find it tougher and tougher. So I think a straightforward 2-0 victory, unfortunately for Crawley. But I think the at home we're really fearless.
Oh, nicely dropped in there. Nice pun. Tim, let's come to you next.
They had a decent draw against Stockport at the weekend. It's not to be sniffed at. And I think they've had 2 away games in the league so far. They've won 1-0 and lost 1-0. So I think they're defensively, they seem to be okay on their travels, it would seem. So I'd expect it to be fairly tight. Part of me wants to fill the void of Reece not being here and say it'll be a draw, and
the world will collapse.
Yeah, no, I think we will get through it again, but I think it might be a bit of a tetchy game. So I'm gonna go squeaky 2-1 Wrexham.
And finally, to wrap things up, Liam Randall, come on down.
I believe that I'm interested to see how Crawley's style of play matches up with ours. Like Tim, I don't think we're going to absolutely thrash them, but I think it'd be one of those sort of slightly satisfying, but not sort of triumphant 2-0. So I'll go 2-0 Wrexham.
So, I'm just going to go nice and simple, 3-0 to the town. Easy, done. As in Wrexham Town, not Crawley Town. Yeah, fine. We'll be good. We'll be all right. Nice bounce back. I have to go 3-0. So that has been it. Any final thoughts, gents, or are we out of here?
I'm out of here.
You're always ready to go.
See you later.
Surely this time next week we're not going to be talking about Mullin having some sort of like retrospective punishment, are we? We're going to say that now. That's not happening, is it?
I mean, it would be ridiculous if he got a ban for that. Especially because that's stuff like that probably happens quite a lot on a football field. It's just that it's Monday Night Football. There's cameras everywhere. They pick up everything. There's lots of directors there looking for stuff.
Didn't touch the man's peen at the end of the day.
Not that Alpine. No,
Alpine.
Alpine was left well alone.
Oh, we're descending into dick jokes.
Look, I watch a lot of Formula One. And they don't call them
Alpine.
It's the Alpine.
Do you watch any dodgy pox? Is that why you're picking up weird sort of pronunciations of it?
No, I'm just picking out the right pronunciation. Okay, well, anyway, let's not.
Anyway, there's certain Wrexham owners that have an involvement in Alpine racing. So answers on a postcard from either of those chaps. Please tell Andrew how it's pronounced. Send us a voicemail. Let us know. Thank you.
Well, I'm down myself now that Gil-peen said that he watches a lot of F1. I'm kind of like, maybe it is Alpine. Maybe
it's still funny.
it is still funny.
He's very certain of it, and even the poker face tells me he's absolutely certain.
No, I mean, Alpine, McLaren, these are all well-known teams.
Ferrari,
Mercedes,
Benetton. Yeah, jeez, dear
God, Andrew with a French accent is terrifying. That's enough.
All right,
let's get out of here.
On that note, see you guys.
Au revoir.
Catch you later.
Cheers. Bye bye.